Hello, so we're in the potting shed, greenhouse, and it's absolutely red hot and rather damp. So I've had to take me jacket off. It's a first for the year. So we are going to sow some onion seeds today. Let's have a quick rundown on the old onions. So there's two sorts of types of onions that you normally grow. Your normal big fat cooking onions, or you put them in salads, etc. Those sort of onions grow quite big. And then there's your what I call spring onions, also called salad onions. On here they're called bunching onions. So they're your small thin ones that you chop up and often put in oriental cooking dishes and in salads, etc. And they have a shorter growing season. Obviously they haven't got to grow so big. What did I say? Green onions, they're also called green onions, lots of different names. So they're the two different types, and you can either grow them, both the salad onions and your normal onions, from seed, or you can grow them from sets, which are basically these small onions. And these are relatively expensive. You get them in, a packet of 100 for a, I don't know, I think that was $3 or something like that for 100. Or you can get seeds. Now I do both. I sow seeds, and then I also later on in the year sow sets. So you normally sow the sets in the ground directly outside. As soon as you can work the ground. And onions we're obviously going to start earlier and in the greenhouse or inside, and then transfer them again to a cold frame. Traditionally you sow both your sets and your onions in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to multi-sow my onions, so I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So what I've got here is a normal potting tray, a module potting tray, which is ideal for multi-sowing. Normal potting compost or seed compost, whatever you've got really, just a good compost. I've put it in there, pre-moistened it, and I've pressed it down so it's nice and firm. And we also want to make sure it's pressed down at the sides, so that when I put the seeds in, they don't all go into the middle, so that it's not a bowl. And what I'm going to do is get my seeds, once I can open the packet, open that, just get the seeds, as usual, quite small seeds there, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is, in each one of these modules I'm going to sow about 8 to 10 seeds, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So just sprinkle 8 to 10 seeds around the actual module. Just like that. Making sure they're a little bit apart. Doesn't matter too much. You just don't really want them all on top of each other. Now the reason we're doing this is, like I said, normally you sow them in a long row. But if you sow them like this, they will grow. You won't get them as big, but it doesn't matter when you're doing salad onions. You want them small and thin, so you'll get a bunch in a clump, and they will grow quite happily in that little bunch there. And then because you've sown lots of different clumps in your row, what will happen is one will grow on the outside a bit better than the ones on the inside, so you'll harvest that one, go to another bunch, harvest that one. So all the different bunches will have different size onions as they're growing, so you can just pick the ones you want from different bunches. And the thing is here, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, 6 in a row, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, say 6 times between 8 and 10 onions in each one of these things. So we're getting, you know, 6 times as many onions for our 1 row of onions. This tray is going to give me between 150 and 200 onions instead of, what was it, 3 by 7, instead of 21, it's going to give me between 150 and 200. So I would say that that is a good idea. Now you can do the same thing with your normal onions as well. Exactly the same thing. I've already sown my normal onions. I'm sorry, kept the camera away. And if you were doing this with normal onions, you would sow between 5 to 7 onions in each one of these. So instead of the 8 to 10, about 5 to 7 in each of these. And the same principle will happen. The onions will grow. They'll grow quite happily. There won't be, you know, you won't have one big massive one. Instead you'll have 5 to 7 medium size onions, and early on you could even treat some of those onions as salad onions as well. So again, you will get 5 times as many medium size onions as you would normally. Right, I'm going to finish sowing these and I'll come back to you. Okay, so that's all of these populated, 8 and 10, something like that. In about 7 to 14 days these will germinate and they'll obviously start growing then. I'm going to put these again indoors. First up, just cover them again with the usual few millimetres, not too deep, of compost. I'll finish that off in a minute. Can't mark it because I've left my pen in the house. No, I haven't. Aha! So, spring onions, what are they called? Flavour King. That sounds as a good start. Again, give them a good water. Don't overdo it, don't want to drown them out. Just give them a good water. So I'm going to stick these inside, stick a cover on them. Again, I'd advise that for everybody, but don't, if you haven't got room, put them in a cold frame or in your greenhouse or anywhere relatively protected, and they'll just take a little bit longer to germinate. And you don't have to keep these in the house. At the end of the day, you can put these outside once they've germinated. Bring them in if there's a frost. Just at the moment, they don't mind a bit of cold, but we want to protect our seedlings to start with. But they can go outside. Give them a bit of a cover. You know, put your cover on. They'll be perfectly happy outside, like I said, or in a cold frame. As soon as mine are germinated, I'm bringing them in here into the greenhouse. And as you can see, it's already starting to fill up quite a lot now. So tomatoes, lettuce, peppers, onion sets I've got over there. And don't worry, if you haven't got room to do this at the moment, we'll be coming to the onion sets in a few weeks' time. I bought these early because I'm starting a few indoors, but we can start these straight away outside in a few weeks' time. And like I said, $2.99 for 100. That's bargain enough as it is, and we can look at growing these on in our bed as well. So that's it, I think. Spring onions are in. Ordinary onions, you can do exactly the same thing, but instead of having 8 to 10 seeds in here, we're putting 5 to 7, 6 to 8, something like that, in here, and put them in the warm, germinate, and we can take them out if you haven't got room inside, somewhere nice and light and airy afterwards. But job's a good one. We're building up our stock.